Have you ever been on a call with a client and you give them this whole spiel about everything that you're going to do for them, and they come back and they say, wait, what is it that I'm getting again? Have you ever quoted a price to a client, and after quoting that price, they asked you to tell them, what all am I getting? Well, in today's video, I'm going to teach you how to explain the process to your clients clearly so that they understand and they book faster. You see, most clients think they know what they need already. And so by the time they talk to a videographer about the work, all they really want to know is the price. It's important that they understand your process because that's what you need to be able to deliver to them at a high level. However, when they already know what they want, they don't have a lot of patience. They're not going to wait to hear you out. They're going to filter most of what you tell them out except for the price. And once you give them that price, that's when they're gonna wake up and they're gonna say, wait a minute, what am I getting again? Early in my career, when I would get on a call with a client, I would try my best to close them. I did this because there would be months when I didn't get a lot of calls. And occasionally I would overdo it whenever a client would ask me, what do I get with this? Clients would ask me, hey Ryan, what's the process? What's the next steps to working with you? And what I would say to them goes a little something like this. Hey, first we're gonna book. You're gonna pay the deposit, and then we're gonna have 2 cameras. We're gonna shoot a bunch of B-roll, and then when we get that B-roll, we're gonna start editing right then and there. And after we start editing, then we'll check in with you to see if it's anything that you need, and we'll be getting some footage of this person, getting some footage of that thing, getting some footage of that thing. We'll find an area to set up lights. I would tell them all of those things. However, that is the information that you would provide at a pre-production call. When a client wants to know what the process is, you want to give them an easy thing to remember so that y'all are both on the same page as soon as possible. So later in the video, I'm gonna share that with you, but first I wanna explain to you why it's a bad idea, because someone is watching this video thinking, well, I've booked gigs when I've given them all of that information and they've been impressed. But they weren't impressed, they were overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed because they already have 1,000 things on their mind, and video is just one more thing that they have to worry about. And most times in my experience, when you rattle off a bunch of details, some that matter and some don't, the client is going to filter those things out, which are usually the wrong things. So let's get into 2 of the most common traps that cause you to confuse a client and lose that sale or lose them in the process of sharing your process, okay? So the first thing is using industry jargon. So essentially using words that are specific to videographers and DPs in the film industry. Your client may not know what those things are. Using terms like pre-production, gaffer, lighting ratio, contrast ratio, things like that. The client is going to be thinking, okay, what is that, while you're talking, which means they won't be listening to you. So the best thing to do in that situation is to, if you have to use a word that's industry specific, immediately define what that means for them. Better yet, don't use that word, just talk to them in the definition. So instead of me saying, hey, we'll have a DP there, I'm gonna say, hey, we're gonna have someone that's gonna direct the camera and the lighting. It's the same thing. One is just a word that they don't know. So you want to make sure you talk in plain language so that they can digest and stay with you. You don't want them to lose you. The second pitfall or thing where I see people go wrong is they don't adapt their process to the things the client cares about. If a client hires me to shoot an interview, they don't really care about the logistics of me getting a grip truck and a gaffer and a key grip to help me shoot that interview. All they care about is the things related to the interview. The time it's gonna take, what time we're gonna start, what time we're gonna finish, how much it's gonna cost, those kinds of details. What are we gonna do to prepare for it? They wanna know that stuff. They don't wanna know about all the things that I have to do. I see that a ton with people when they are explaining details to clients, and those clients just change their mind about working with them because they become overwhelmed. It's happened to me before. The client, I told the client so much stuff that we were gonna do. They felt like what we were offering them was overkill for what they wanted. So they said, okay, we need something simpler. They moved on. Okay? So you don't want that to happen to you. So when you're talking and explaining your process to your clients, you want to keep in mind that your job is to make things feel easy, clear, and simple for them. So you do that through communication. The first step is to give them your price up front. I talk about this in other videos. It's very important for you to let the client know what the cost is going to be, even if it's a range. If you're not sure, because you got to ask them questions, ask those questions and then give them a price range at least. Client, this is going to cost between X and Y. Does that work for you? Let them confirm, and then you move on to explaining to them your process. This is very important because it shows that you trust them up front. You give them the choice to be able to walk away or to stay. And sometimes when I quote a price range, I go ahead and tell them the process right after, and then I ask them, does that work for them? So if you're afraid that giving them the price first and then telling them the process is gonna cause them to shut down, then give them the price and tell them the process. Once they hear your process, they'll understand and they'll be able to make an informed decision. The second thing is that you want to over communicate the right things. You want to over communicate if you're not going to be there. You want to over communicate that. You want to say, hey, I won't be present. So if that's a deal breaker, let me know now. My team will be coming. My team will be coming. They'll be able to take care of it. If that's okay, I just want to make sure, because some people want the person that they talk to, but that's not how we operate here. You want to explain that to them up front, and they're fine with it as long as they're given a choice. What you don't want to happen is for you to not communicate that, and then the shoot date comes and your team shows up and they're texting you asking you where you're at. You want to do that. It's very important. Over communicate those things. The last thing that you want to do is you want to make your process seem and feel super duper simple. And I'm going to tell you how to do that right now, a 3-step framework. The first rule is to keep it in 3 steps. Whatever your process is, break it down to 3 steps. You can write that process down, throw it in the ChatGPT, ask it to give you 3 steps. You want to keep things very, very simple. My team, we keep things simple by explaining that we've got 3 stages of our process: pre-production, production, and post-production. Our pre-production stage is where we can ask you all the questions that we want to ask you prior to the event. That way, when we get on site, we don't have to ask you anything. We already know what we want to do. The next step, once we get to production, we're gonna show up at this time, we're gonna set up, we're gonna do these things, and then we'll be done. The last stage is we're going to deliver you your content. So that's an easy 3-step process that they can digest easily. It's not going to overwhelm them because it's digestible. They can compartmentalize. Okay, pre-production, they're going to ask me a bunch of questions. Production, they're going to shoot. Post-production, they're going to deliver my footage. Easy peasy. So always keep things to 3 steps. Even when you go to the pre-production part of your process, let's say you get the gig, y'all are in pre-production. Keep that pre-production short. 3 simple stages so that everybody's clear on everything. Ask all the questions that you need to ask. Let them ask if they have any questions, and then wrap up the meeting. So to recap, when clients understand what's coming, they trust the journey, whether or not they have all the steps. It doesn't matter whether they have all the steps. So to recap, when clients see what's coming, they trust the journey more. It doesn't matter if they have all the steps. If you communicate clearly and upfront with your clients, you'll never have to worry about having issues with them micromanaging you or not listening to what you say, as long as you keep things simple and easy to digest and understand for them, even though we know that our work is more complicated than that. I'll see y'all in the next video. Love you.